What's up, everybody? Welcome to the CanesInSight Daily podcast powered by Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Hope you had a great weekend. It is a Victory Monday. We are here to talk USF game. We'll talk a little about the UF game. We're going to go crazy on the UF game throughout the week, but definitely recap the USF game. Talk about just some of the challenges, right, of being considered a top program. It's nice to be talked about as potentially the best program in the country by national pundits, but there's a danger with that too. We'll talk about that. Some true freshmen, emerging guys who may play more and more as the season goes on. College football, want to get into a couple topics just because it was a cool week, cool Saturday for sure in the sport. So we'll be doing a lot here on the CanesInSight Daily podcast. First, we'll talk about some folks that are always doing a lot. You saw Carson Beck posing. In fact, let me pull that up because that was an automatic. People were tweeting us all over about this. This was an automatic spot right here, which was Carson Beck running for a touchdown and then posing in front of our friends at Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. If you or someone you care about has been injured in an accident, you could be entitled significant compensation. Now, 1-800-747-FREE, 1-800-747-3733. Take back control of your life with Anajar and Levine. There you go. There's the picture right there. Look at that. Making it easy for us with the spot. Appreciate you, Carson. All right. With that said, Pete, hop in here.
Good morning, D.
What's going on?
Just reflecting on this Monday morning, man. I rewatching the game and just listening to Mario on Joe Rose this morning. I know we're going to get into some stuff regarding game day, but I think something that Mario doesn't get enough credit for as a coach. We talk about his talent acquisition, putting this roster together, establishing the culture, the trenches, all that. But he really gets these guys ready to go for not only big games, but like it's hard for me. Yes, the defense last year was a story of its own, but in these last 2 years, since he's gotten a bulk of his guys here, since the portal classes have been brought in, these guys mentally, for the most part, I have a hard time like really pointing to a game and saying, man, they just came out flat. The Georgia Tech game last year, maybe, that was probably the closest thing to it because the offense didn't have that same explosive, ability there. But even going back to Oregon, right, in Mario's career, the story is blowing leads late, clock management, time management stuff. It's not like, hey, man, these guys just got boat race, just came out and didn't have it up here, right? So I think looking forward into what I just keep calling the heart of the ACC, once you get past Florida State, and I say get past Florida State, not saying that it's a guarantee they win these next two, but feeling good about it, but knowing that the focus has to go to a different level once you get to that point, because as Mario says, every game is a playoff game, right? So I just think that for all the roster stuff, these guys seem very locked in right now. And I think Mario deserves credit for that.
Yeah, they were locked in. You were locked in post-game. Colonel Russell saying Pete's post-games are legendary. Hassan saying, loved how hype Pete was after the game. I've incorporated those breathing exercises into my my viewing of the game. But yeah, man, that was awesome. If you haven't seen Pete's post-game, check that out. Right, like literally right after the game ends, he's on there live. Comment from Trey Moore, the Damian Lewis isn't getting enough credit. D tackles are playing good. Defensive ends are playing good, man. So
I've heard that people inside the building are just super happy with what D-Lou's done there in terms of helping guys mature and take a next step. So
got to get some guys in the building. We know defensive tackles are priority, both flipping guys and then also trying to find some late bloomers, guys that are underrated. So they're working both angles as we speak. And of course, the portal will be a factor there as well. But Pete, to your point, I wanted to get to, which was the being locked in, the consistent physicality. You don't have to question whether the team's going to be physical. You know they're going to be physical. That was something that was Mario's reputation at Oregon. I remember hearing scouts say, you don't really need to worry about Mario's players being physical when you get them because they're coached to be physical. I think we're seeing that with this team and last year's team really too, at least on offense. Certainly defense now is caught up. One thing that caught my attention about this performance was you had an extreme rain delay, right? That was an hour plus on the rain delay.
Almost 2 hours. It was like 1:57 or something like that.
Right. So to have that kind of rain delay and then not lose anything, and just come out and play just as physical, just as fast, just as locked in, I should say. They were locked up on the edge. But yeah, to come in with that kind of energy and that focus after that rain delay to me speaks a lot to coaching, speaks a lot to leadership. And we're going to need it because we're going to talk about some of the potential pitfalls here. As I see you defending yourself in the chat, they're trying to say you were on some, you were drunk, whatever. I mean, you were. I know you. That's just your vibe when the fire's lit.
Yeah, that's just what it is.
So, anyways, yeah, I think this week's going to be a challenge, and let's just get into that because I want to talk about the freshmen and some of the guys making plays for your Miami and the USF game. But first, you mentioned how this team's locked in every single week, and after the rain delay, whatever it is, this week's going to be a unique challenge because everybody, and this was a story all weekend, and I guarantee you with game day coming to town, kind of a lighter weekend nationally, this is going to be the story of the week, which is Miami the best team in the country? Is Miami the most complete team in the country? I've already heard people say that. I think I saw McCown say that, or one of these former quarterbacks who does these breakdowns say it on ESPN. You had Danny Cannell. We had his number one as well. There's going to be more of that over the course of the week of, is this the best team in the country, most complete? No one really stands out in that department. With game day, you're going to hear more and more. I'm sure there'll be features on Beck, Mark Fletcher, all these guys, Ruben Bain. So how is Miami going to deal with this attention and praise when on the other side, you know how it's going to go? People are going to be killing Lagway all week. He is going to be locked in. You're going to get basically a back against the wall kind of career on the line. It's like a career match in wrestling. You know, if you lose, your career's done. I don't think that's the case with Lagway, but I'm sure his mentality is, this is my career. This is my reputation. I just threw 5 picks. Everybody thinks I'm bad now. They thought I was the best quarterback in the country a month ago. So you're going to get the best of Lagway. Maybe I'm wrong because I thought Lagway was going to be good. He's obviously terrible so far this year. I never liked the team around him. I still stand by that. I think the team around him is way less talented than has been hyped. We're seeing that on the field. They have 2 losses. I think they stink. But with a motivated Lagway and a guy that has the potential to be great on a good day, similar to Kyron Drones, who was wildly inconsistent for Virginia Tech, but played like a god against us. Some was our defense. Some was him making exceptional plays. It's a scary game, man. It's a classic trap game. It's a classic, one team's too high, one team's too low, and they have enough talent. I don't think they're very talented, but they have enough talent that if they are playing their absolute best game, we kind of get caught up, lost in the sauce. We get a couple turnovers early. The crowd turns a little bit. We get in our heads. We've seen this in college football a million times. So it is now up to Coach Cristobal and the leadership on the team to make sure that we weather the storm, go through all the game day stuff, use it as motivation without using it as something that throws us off our game, because our consistent game, protecting the passer, making good decisions, running the ball with power, knocking back up front, tackling all over the place, playing with physicality at every position from receiver to corner, that formula works and is very consistent and really gives you a wide margin for error week to week because it's such a proven formula. Alabama did it for years. Stick to the formula, avoid the rat poison. That's going to be the story to me of this week with a UF team that is certainly with its back against the wall.
And to your point about the game day hype and all that, it's funny because listening to Mario and Joe Rose this morning, and Joe, setting it up like, hey, cool opportunity, college game days in town and all that. And the way Mario talked about it was almost like, he says it's a great opportunity, something like it's a great opportunity for us to kind of see if we can handle all of this stuff, right? So he's talking about game day coming like it's actually a game in itself, because I think he believes that if they can get over this hump here, get into the bye week, then it's going to be tough to knock them off of that, zone they're in. So I think that's what he feels like this week could be for them. And I mean, it sounds like he's quietly confident, man. That's just the vibe I get from listening to him here. And obviously, looking at this one, D, I've kind of been going back and forth in my head about it. Like, part of me, in terms of the Florida game, is disappointed that they have lost a couple in a row, because if they would have gotten to this point 2-1 or 3-0, and then they lose a couple here. I feel like the Florida fans' whole thing would have been like, well, look at the schedule, look how tough it is. Now they've already lost to USF. You've already lost the way they lost to LSU, and then now Miami could take them out 3 in a row. And there's no, oh look, it was the schedule. It's you guys were obviously not very good, but. So I, as a Canes fan, I would have liked to knock them off their pivot a little bit if they were up here. But as some have called it in the comments, pink slip game. That would be nice.
Pink slip game. I love it. The handshake, right? Like remember Golden and Dabo handshake? It'd be nice to be delivering that handshake. Although we're probably doing them a favor by doing that. The truth is, I always want the Gators to lose. I always want them to lose. We still got game day. So it's like the hype is still kind of around the game. It still should be a fun atmosphere. Probably a lot less Gators in the crowd, right?
It's probably better for us, not to cut you off, but like the hype is really the game day storyline is going to be, man, this could be Billy Napier's last game. And look at how Miami has elevated their status for the last couple of years of Mario. So from a recruiting standpoint, they're going to be telling the story for the coaching staff.
Exactly. So it's like, it's one of those things where, look, if you lose, it's a complete and utter disaster because of all the hype and all the other stuff. If you win, it's great. You got an advertisement for a whole week and weekend, like you pointed out. I mean, it's like great for recruiting. It's great for people watching on TV, seeing the game days. You know how hopefully the weather cooperates, but you remember how it is when they get the cameras on Miami, it looks sick. I told Cam Gorby I keep name dropping Cam, but I told people at including Cam, that we got to get Alex Searle on game day. I don't even know, honestly. I don't have Instagram aside from the Canes Inside account, so I don't even know who she is or what she does. I've seen pictures of her, but like, I can't tell you how many times I've heard her name from young people talking about She's very much associated with I would put that whole foot forward on game day. Just like, hey guys, look, this is where you want to go to college. This is what you want to be a part of. This is the vibe, because this place, when you film it nice, and the weather is good with the lake and everything else, the pools, it looks sick. So this advertisement for the school is going to be outstanding. The team speaks for itself in terms of what their performance has been in the advertisement. Certainly a good advertisement for quarterbacks with this offensive line. Beck's protection has been immaculate. Got to deliver on the field. If you win, kind of like Notre Dame, if you win, this is going to be the best week and weekend ever for the University of Miami as far as promotion. Maybe not ever, but in a long, long time. If you lose, it's a disaster, and you're losing to a team that really stinks. So we'll see. But I'm interested to see how the team handles it.
Yeah, I'm I feel pretty good about it, especially considering Beck. I was actually trying to look this up, or I thought to myself, let me look it up before the show. I'll try to look it up now to see how many game day games Beck has been a part of the last couple years. So give me a second. I'm going to try to look that up.
Look that up. That's a good stat. I'm curious.
I do think that probably plays a factor to it, and him just kind of reminding the guys, look, it's the same game that's going to be played. There's going to be more media buzz around it, but sometimes this stuff can elevate a team at the same time. We talk about it negatively, but I think if they can embrace it and handle it well, like we've said here, it can be a boost for you.
100%. So while you're looking that up, Lord Bagington, appreciate your support as always, says, listen, Florida's overrated this year and last. Yeah, I agree. I think Florida, I've said it last year. I said they were terrible. They honestly played better than I thought over the course of the year, only losing 5 games and getting destroyed by Miami. That was better than I thought they would do. I really hated their team last year. This year, I thought they were better because of Lagway. I didn't like the team around him. I still think the team around him stinks. He himself has been disappointing. Maybe I'm going to eat crow on that one, thinking that he was good. He's a little beat up. Obviously, you could see he's not timed up for missing so much time. He just looks a little slower. So there's a lot of stuff going on with him. I hope I'm eating crow and he's bad, because he was the U.S. best hope. My fear remains. I was there, Virginia Tech game. I saw Drones. I know our defense was terrible in that game, but Drones was making some unbelievable plays just with size, physicality, athleticism, arm strength that were very, very hard to defend, even if you did have a better defense. So I hope we don't see that from Lagway this weekend, but also we got to do our job and disrupt him, stop the run, and we'll get into that matchup a million different ways. But yes, I think UF was extremely overrated. I think the media really in the offseason did a pretty bad job with some teams that were obvious not as good as they were saying. Florida being one of them. When you lose so many players, you have the 78th ranked portal class, and your team stunk to begin with. You were a 5-loss team. I don't understand why people were assuming they would get better. I just didn't understand that logic. Their offensive line was overrated from the start. Defensive line overrated from the start. So just bad job by the media on that one. And it was obvious, not in retrospect, at the time, based on the information we had. Clemson, same thing. Did nothing really in the portal. They did bring in Will Heltz, who's probably one of their best players. They should have brought in more guys like that. Did nothing in the portal. Was an extremely soft ball club last year, and that continued this year. K. Klubnik, backup level talent. Whoever said that guy was the first pick of the draft is insane. Now we'll get into all this stuff.
It's funny. I'm looking at these. I just went to the transfer portal rankings again because we said it last week when it comes to Florida. 70th ranked portal class just made no sense to me in terms of replenishing. You lost a lot with the draft. And I'm looking at it now. The top 6 portal classes, LSU, Texas Tech, Miami, Ole Miss, Oregon, Florida State, are all doing pretty well. Missouri, then you have Auburn, North Carolina.
Looks great.
Yeah, Missouri looks great. I've been on the Drinkwitz bandwagon for like 8 years now, so that's not a surprise to me. They've gotten legit talent there. North Carolina, number 9, not looking great right now. Kentucky, how are they looking right now? They lost to Ole Miss a couple weeks ago, but portal success has direct correlation with the success on the field. Like it's not. That's the era that we're in now.
100%. Plank Time saying D-Money's trashing teams for losing by 3. I mean, what's Clemson's record against P4 opponents the last 10 games? I know the last 3 they're 1, or the last 5 they're 1-4 against P4. So, I mean, I think they deserve to be trashed a little bit. Again, they have talent. They can beat a team like Miami, right? They can beat you. But are they anything particularly special or Clemson-like? No, they're just the trenches. We talk about it so much, and power. That's the key word I want to highlight, because I think this word does not get talked about enough, Pete, in my opinion. Power. It's the P word, power. Francis Malinois. What's the first thing that comes to mind when you think Francis Malinois? Power. Ruben Bain. What's the first thing you think about? Speed, bend. He has some of those things. Power. Power is the name of the game. You think about Alabama winning all the championships they won under Nick Saban. They knocked you backwards. Yes, they added the Waddles of the world and guys like that, Henry Ruggs. Over time, they got more dynamic. But it's always been about power with the teams that win. And it's a separator between the teams that win big and the other teams. So I think Miami has power. I think that Clemson just lacks power. That's why they were so bad against the run last year. That's why they're struggling this year. I think Florida lacks power. I think they got a lot of finesse. There's a lot of talk about their defense. I think their defense is extraordinarily overrated. They have one of the worst sack rates in the country. They can't stop the run. And I don't think they have very good players. Now, they're playing good as a team. They played well against LSU. They played pretty well against USF, although from a scoreboard standpoint, but I didn't think they were very good against USF. USF controlled the game in certain ways. But overall, if you don't have power, you're dead. So I think Miami, the difference between Miami now and Miami in the past, first and foremost, we have a lot of power on both sides of the line.
You want to get into some of these freshmen?
Yeah, let's get into them, Pete. I want to start with you coined a lot of phrases this year. You really are on a run of coining these phrases. I got to start making some t-shirts, man, because you're a walking slogan factory. Someone was pointing out that they were watching Carter Davis. Someone in the comments said they were watching Carter Davis in the warm-ups, and he was banging 60-yarders. That Pete was right. It sounds a little different coming off the boot. There's Al Lewis right there. That was one great nickname. You had another great one after the show talking about a true freshman running back that I'd love to see play a lot more, which is Gerard Pringle.
So I can't take credit for this one. I got to give credit to our boy Chase Romero on coining the phrase. I can say I'm trying to popularize it, is what I will say. Once he popped, that fun don't stop. Gerard Pringle, man. So he's popped. Like I said, I think he's earned himself now, starting to get himself into the mix here. And this is what happens. You get him in there against Bethune, he does it. You get him in there now against USF, he does it. You're going to start to hopefully you're ahead here a couple scores. And that's what I said last game. Hopefully you're ahead of 2-3 scores in the second quarter there, and you can start to get him in the mix a little bit earlier there. And you saw a couple sets with 2 running backs back there when he was in there as well. So they were getting him, they were starting to, it seems like, introduce him in different ways now. And I think moving forward, he's going to be someone that you see the speed, but you see the patience that he runs with. This is a real back. This is not just a guy with track speed. He's setting things up. Cristobal said last week on Joe Rose, he said he's got some good lamps on him. His eyes are elite, is what Coach Cristobal said. And remember, back in fall camp, what was I saying? I heard from people in the offensive line room. He kind of sneaks behind these offensive linemen, and then one second to the next, and that's what we've seen, right? I mean, he's not huge, but he'll just kind of disappear for a second, and then boom, shoots out 4 or 5 yards.
Yep,
finds the openings.
I would agree. I think a good example, the touchdown he scored in this game, they got penetration. That was not the most well-blocked play. There were some good blocks on that play, but if you watch the replay of Pringle's touchdown this week, there was some penetration. He had to kind of adjust his lane a little bit, but he was able to hide, sneak through, pop through, and then the explosiveness. He reminds me, Pete, of somebody who we know from the city of Miami who's having a lot of success in the ACC, which is Isaac Brown. Right now, I believe he's actually averaging like 12-plus yards a carry, so he's doing really, really good. They're about the same size. Isaac Brown, I think, is 5'9", 190. Pringle's got to be around that size. Speed-wise, pretty similar. I think Pringle's actually faster on the track. They're both north-south guys. They have footwork, but they're not like just jukers. You know, they're not guys who are going to just live by making you miss. They're going to get to where they got to go, and then they're going to explode upfield. They have to make a downhill cut, but they're very much north-south for being smaller backs. And then they're tough for their size. So they're not afraid to run inside, even though they are looking for that explosive play. So you see what Isaac Brown's been able to do in the ACC. I think you can see that with Gerard Pringle. Now, Louisville's problem, they don't have a Mark Fletcher, right? So they don't have all the weapons that Miami does to physically dominate, which we did to Louisville last year with Martinez and Fletcher. We just kind of punked them. But then Pringle gives you the same changeup ability, although this is not a changeup, it's a fastball at the bullpen where you can take it to the house. So I would love to see more Pringle. You said it, the twin backs with him and Mark Fletcher, Mark Fletcher can run it. He can be that fullback and lead block for you. A lot of stuff you can do with him. I thought Lofton would be able to do some of that stuff. He's banged up. We got to talk about that eventually. And
this comment here, as people were getting to it in the comments, S.J. Alafatuli coming in a package, which that was something that we also had suggested months ago. I mean, over the summer, because I think it's obvious right now that he's not ready to snap the football and be a center. He had some good moments late in the game as well on the goal line there. He had a nice play on I believe it was Pringle's touchdown.
Yeah, he did.
But man, he's a good enough athlete that you can get him out there as a lead blocker. I love it. Quick,
twitchy for a center right now, for an offensive lineman right now. He's a little small. That's part of what he's going to be doing, is growing and getting stronger. He's a true freshman. That's part of the game. But credit to SJ, because it shows you what kind of character he is, first of all, because he comes in as a guy who played guard in high school. Obviously, and he's played guard here at UM, but he's having trouble at times with size. I mean, he's a very small guard as a true freshman. That's not the biggest guy to begin with playing guard. He's one of your smaller guards you're going to find at a team like Miami. When he does play center, he's learning how to snap. He didn't snap in high school. You covered this a ton with the work and everything done in the Discord. SJ is improving his snaps, but he needs reps. He's just been doing it for a while. So how do you get him on the field? Does he go in the tank? Does he say, I'm disappointed? No, he plays fullback, uses that speed and quickness. Was undersized as an offensive lineman, is now oversized as a fullback. Mentally, he's ready to go, to be trusted in real games. So now he's playing real snaps. He's a true freshman playing snaps that impact the final score and impact the win or the loss, right? He's not just playing in garbage time, which he's done a good job of as well. So shout out to SJ. This whole segment, we're talking about freshmen that could play early and help us from what we've seen so far through these first 3 games. Put SJ Alafatuli in that category, because he's a true freshman that is doing it. And Pete, before we get to we got to talk about some of these other freshmen. I know Josh Moore is going to be the first one on people's minds, but I want to shout out Lord Baconton here. Appreciate your support. He says, I feel like Mario has his team focused on ripping heads off, his team mentality. The blocking on all levels of offense is just different. We're dogs. So with that said, some more freshmen do you think can help us early?
So you want to wait for Josh Moore, or you want to talk about him now?
Let's talk about him.
Well, listen, obviously the eye-popping catches with him, but I think just in general, as we get into him more as a player, but that shows, because I saw some comments on social media this week, like, hey, man, we've heard so much about Josh Moore. He hasn't really lived up to it yet. And first of all, now it's game 3. A guy like him continues to gain confidence. But really, it just shows you that these rotations, as someone else just said here, they love the rotations. Rocco says, love we're using so many guys. Ron the man says, love the rotations this year. Shows the trust. That goes on both sides of the ball, man. You got to feed the hot hand here, right? Chase Smith, the performance that he had. I know we're talking about freshmen, but I think this goes hand in hand, right? Because now you saw Bryce Fitzgerald, him getting way more snaps and it paying off there. So, and we'll get to him now in a second, but these rotations are legit in terms of, you can't, if you're a player, you can't be, if you are balling out, they're going to keep you out there. Like, this is, it's a hot hand sort of thing at every position. It feels like from watching them and from rewatching them. So yeah, man, that's with Josh Moore, the skill set was shown. It's exactly what we saw during camp, that catch that he made. Carson Beck loving the trust that he has in guys to just go and throw it up there one-on-one, which is something that Cam Ward had also. But Ward he would obviously wait for things to develop more downfield a lot of times. Beck sees it, throws it up there on the one-on-ones, and lets guys go and make a play on it.
No doubt about it. The quick trigger, quick release. Ward had a quick release too, but Beck just gets rid of it a little faster because of his style of play. So yeah, and then you mentioned trust. I was there, and I want to say it was the second scrimmage. Might have been the first scrimmage. I think it was the second scrimmage. Josh Moore, in front of a lot of boosters, a lot of people, it was a pretty big crowd, if I recall, had an incredible scrimmage, making all kinds of contested catches, running by guys. He was the best player on the field that day. And I remember Beck afterwards, this is not in the media, this is just, on the field, just like, man, Josh Moore, the Josh Moore looked good. So I think Beck knows what a guy like a Josh Moore can bring. That throw that he threw to him, the second one with protection, was incredible. He was a little late on the throw. It was not the most perfect throw that Beck made all day, but because Moore has that just incredible ability to adjust to the ball, to be big, to use his hands, and to do what you expect a big athletic receiver like that to do, he went up top, got the ball anyway, strong hands, finished the catch. So with Beck and Colby Young last year, you had that synergy for at least for a little while before Colby Young got suspended, where Beck could trust Colby Young to make those contested catches, to use his body to go outside the frame. I think Josh Moore gives you that same dynamic, but with just more talent, much more explosive, gifted player than a Colby Young. So I think Beck is looking at that, not just as, hey, he had a good game against USF. I think Beck's thinking, we got to get this guy ready because this guy's going to be a big part of our team all the way through this thing, however far it goes. So that's one name that I don't think was a fluke performance. I think they've been trying to get him going. And the fact that now he is going, you hope to continue that. And they're going to keep feeding him. I wouldn't be surprised if they throw him screens or just otherwise just try to make sure he is fed early, because I think he's going to be a big part of this team and his role will only increase. It's not going to be a flash situation.
Who else? Who are we going to next here?
So other freshmen that
Malachi, obviously.
Malachi every time, right? With the blocking, he's really stepped up there, which is just a sign of the culture. His hands, I mean, the receiving stuff we kind of already know. I'm impressed with the punt return. If you look at that last punt return, or one of those punt returns that he took out, he was, if he didn't get tripped up, he probably was going to house that from what I could see in the stands. He had a full line of blockers in front of him. So I didn't think of him as the guy that was going to be returning punts for touchdowns this year, but I wouldn't be shocked if he's returning one for a touchdown this year. I mean, he is really assertive there. He catches it with a lot of confidence. You feel
little Teron Collier in his return game.
Yeah, that's not bad comp. Not as big, not as heavy, but he's pretty strong. So we could use it. I mean, how many punt returns have we had over the years? Not that many. So question here on the true freshman. Bryce Fitzgerald over under 6 INTs by year end. I'm pretty sure that would be a true freshman record.
Yeah, I'll probably say under just because being conservative, but I think 4 to 5 is definitely in the equation. Only needs 2 more for 4.
It's crazy, and maybe this week, right? This guy just threw 5 interceptions. Lagway, he tends to sail the ball, so it wouldn't be a huge shock to see that.
You know who deserves a shout out? Not a freshman D, but got a lot of questions. Why did Miami take this guy? Why did Miami take this guy? They don't need another guy at that spot. Tony Johnson.
Yeah. Let's. Not a freshman, but we'll shout him out here because he made a nice catch in the first drive. Made another great catch further down the line. Looked pretty fast, I thought, in the stadium.
Yeah.
Just seeing him run. He had some giddy up.
And he's not tiny either, by the way.
No, and he's tough, and he's got good character. So good character transfers, unless they really can't play at all, tend to help you. That's just kind of a good rule of thumb. Is where you get killed with transfers is obviously guys that cannot play, especially guys that you need to play that cannot play, and then guys with bad character. That's what kills you on transfers. When you have a good character transfer, even if they're not all Americans, and they can play and help you in whatever role you ask them to do, and they just have the right stuff mentally, I think those guys help you tremendously. And I put Tony Johnson in that category, someone who can help you on the field, as we saw against USF. We'll see throughout the course of the year, but also brings you that good character. But yeah, 6 INTs. I'm looking at the single season. So the single season record, Benny Blades and Sean Taylor tied with 10. I think he'll have a chance at that one if he keeps playing this well, like over the course of his career, as he gets more experience and studies films and learns quarterbacks a little more. Ed Reed at 9-8. Fred Marion in 1980 had 7. But Cam Kitchens, I thought, would have had one of those years. But I think let's see.
I wanted to get to this comp. Sorry to cut you off.
Go ahead.
From Youssef. He says OJ Frederick's second game. He's gotten beat. Any concerns? And this was something that someone on the Discord brought up. They were frustrated with him getting beat again. My thing about it's similar. Corner and tackle, right, are very similar to me. You get beat one time in a game, and it's a big play. It's a big sack if you're a tackle. It's one of these catches downfield. Obviously, it's highlighted and it's under the microscope. But Miami's very happy with how he's played, from what I understand. The one against Notre Dame was a heck of a contested catch against probably the best contested catch receiver in the country, you could say, right? Then as JoJo Gunn here says, and TJ says, it's not like he got beat badly on that play. He's there. He's you wish he could make a better play on the ball, but perfectly placed ball, good catch. You don't want to see them, right? You want to limit those. Those can come back to hurt you. We saw them in bunches for him against Syracuse, but I think he's fine.
Yeah, I agree totally. I agree totally. I think he's fine. He looks fluid. He's tackling.
26 correcting me well here. Says CJ Daniels, the best contested catch receiver in the country.
Yeah, so I think, I'm not worried about Frederic. As long as he keeps his confidence where he needs it, I think he's going to be extremely successful. And it looks like he has that confidence. Someone said his shorts were disappearing, pants way above the knees. But he's he's confident. He's got his style and he's tackling. He's doing everything he needs to do. I feel great with Frederic. I feel great with Lucas. I think our corners are great, but they're gonna be tested a little bit from these UF receivers that I don't think are very good, but are dangerous enough to hurt you if they get open.
TJ Preble says Poyser made a hell of a recovery on that bomb pass late in the game. He's got that athletic ability, man. He still led the safeties in snaps, by the way. So just I think goes to show you what they think about his importance in that room.
Well, Pete, look, we're talking about recovery, right? We're talking about recovering. How about you recover your game? Recover your game with the University of Miami Sports Medicine Institute. If you consider yourself an athlete, just an active guy trying to get out there. I was running around yesterday, trying to just get the blood flowing on a Sunday watching football, you probably know how hard it is to sit on the injured list with pain or with an injury. Maybe even try to hack your own rehab, fix it yourself, not go with the pros. But if you don't want to compromise your movement, don't want to compromise your performance, why don't you call the experts at the University of Miami Sports Medicine Institute, whether it's elite competition like the guys on the sideline at the University of Miami, or just everyday movement like you or me. The University of Miami Sports Medicine Institute is the trusted choice for those who demand excellence. Set an appointment today at uhealthsports.com. How'd you like that transition, Pete?
That was good.
DJ Preble saying, looks like Caleb Banks won't play this week. U.S. best player. Yeah, they're gonna be shorthanded on that. Miami needs to kill their defensive line. That's a matchup Miami has to dominate, even worse than last year. I think that's that for them to play as well as they can play. They got to dominate that one.
Yeah, I'm looking at it now. It looks like that. I mean, it hasn't been completely confirmed yet, but does not look good for him.
Yeah, he was in crutches after the game.
Yeah.
Which you don't want to see that. I mean, you don't want to see injuries, obviously.
No.
Yeah, I think that at their best, you can.
And look, D, with Lagway, I think we've said it the last couple of weeks, and we'll get more into the matchup throughout the week, but it still does not look like he's healthy. Even a couple of those throws, he had a clean pocket on the interception. Just weren't good reads, weren't good throws. So
yeah, but he also got sacked 3 times, and I think LSU's defense is good.
But you saw the game. He doesn't have the same mobility that I think we've seen before from him.
I agree totally. We thought it was the size. It might be just the size and the timing of missing time and then just being injured, right? So there's a lot of things that could be slowing him down, but I agree with you, Pete. Just Miami has to dominate the trenches. It sounds like such a cliche, but like when I watch Florida, which before the season, you had some goofy PFF ratings saying that they were so great on the lines. I never saw them great on the lines personally. And when you look at just some of their stats, their pass rush, just focusing on the defensive side for a second, I know Caleb Banks has been hurt. Their pass rush has been awful. I know their defense has played well overall, but their pass rush through 3 games has been absolutely awful. I'm looking at sack percentage, which is the percentage of dropbacks that result in sacks. So you basically take all the time someone drops back, say how many times is that quarterback getting sacked when you're playing defense. Florida is 1.56%. That's 122nd in the nation. 122nd in the nation. Now, Notre Dame's 123, but they had to play Miami. But Florida's 122nd in the nation in that category. Look at some of the teams in that list, the D1 teams, FBS teams, Power 4. Syracuse is there. North Carolina, Oklahoma State. Georgia actually on that list. Show you Georgia how much their pass rush has fallen. Their best pass rusher going to Missouri NIL. So not a place you want to be at. Obviously, it's very early, but I don't know if I see great pass rush with the University of Florida. I never thought Tyreek Sapp was that good. This guy Gums, he could hurt you if maybe once in a while, but he's nothing particularly special. Their tackles aren't that special. Their Banks has been hurt. So I think Miami needs to protect Carson Beck, win that matchup, dominate that matchup, because that is what the talent disparity is. But we'll see. I mean, Danny Ray is saying U.S. only given up 2 TDs all season. I still think we win by multiple scores, but we shouldn't underestimate them too much. They can beat us. Make no mistake. They can beat us. But you play Long Island. That doesn't really count. Then the other 2 games, LSU, their offense is not that impressive to me. But they didn't sack Nussmeier. They didn't pressure him. They really didn't do much up front. Both games, they've given up over 100 yards rushing. They've been outrushed in both games, I believe, pretty significantly. So, Florida's done a good job of keeping guys out of the end zone. But I think when you just look at the actual, under the hood of their defense, I mean, here, let's look at the team stats here. So, Florida runs for 79 yards against LSU. LSU runs for 102 yards. Florida runs for 2.9 yards a carry. LSU runs for 4.6. So, to me, the pass rush or the run defense for Florida, not a strength in that game. Then you look at the game against USF, a team that we just saw what they had, not that much. I know they were beat up, but talent-wise, they weren't that good. USF ran for 128 yards, 4.4 yards a carry. Florida ran for 133, 4.2. So basically, they match each other in the running game. This is a different type of deal here with Miami, both in terms of Miami's ability to stop the run. I think it's better than both of those teams, USF and LSU, and Miami's ability to run the ball, I feel, is significantly better than both of those two teams. Remember, USF ran for 40 yards against Miami. 40. And Miami against USF. So, again, Florida and USF tied running the ball. Go to the Miami USF game. Just pulling up the box score so I can be accurate. Box score for Miami. USF ran for 40 yards, 1.5 yards a carry. Miami ran for 205 yards, 5.4 yards a carry. So there's mismatches on the line. Miami should bury these guys and embarrass them and humiliate them. But we know how this works. It's a rivalry game. Miami's going to hear how great they are for a week. US going to hear how bad they are for a week. It's going to be nonstop. They're going to play their hardest, at least initially. So we'll see. We've seen UF turn around like they did last year. They looked awful, and they turned it around towards the end and played better. I'm not trying to be overconfident because it's college football. In fact, I'm not overconfident. I'm worried about this game for the reasons we talked about. But if we're just talking about straight up football analysis, UF's a bad team, and Miami should stomp them. But we know how this works in the world of college football.
Yeah, I think someone in the comments said it right here. You gotta hope Miami comes out like we said in the beginning that I think they will, but comes out early and does not give them a glimmer of hope, right? Because although historically they did not quit on Napier last year, they quit against Miami last year. Yep. Miami made them quit it at home, right? There's a lot of talk about how much they fought for Billy at the end of last season, but they didn't fight very hard for him when Miami came to town last year. So if they can, there's a lot of guys on the team who were part of that last year, a lot of new faces as well. But if they can give them that knockout blow early, because Miami was in control of that game last year the entire time. You never felt like, even after Cam threw the interception relatively early, right? That was second quarter. Definitely first half, and you give them the ball back in a good spot. You never felt like they were really in the game. So you've got to try to get them out of it early and hopefully just physically pound them as it goes on.
Bagging Up says most explosive playmakers will be wearing UF jerseys. That scares me. They are capable of doing big damage with explosive plays. I mean, I disagree about them having explosive playmakers. I think their receivers are awful outside of Vernell Brown. You look at their yards per play; they're 91st in the country. Florida is in yards per play. So they've been actually a dick and dunk offense with Lagway. Now they do scare me because Lagway's arm is so strong that if he scrambles around and we lose our communication, we make a mistake in the back end, he can bob it on you and make a huge chunk play with his talent. And the receivers are athletic enough that they can hurt you with that. Similar to USF, really. These guys are like a supercharged USF in terms of personnel. I don't think there's a huge difference in personnel between USF and UF, but I mean, UF's better. The system's worse. The coaching's worse. But I mean, it's a similar thing where they can run around and beat you with explosive plays. But as far as like explosive playmakers, I mean, again, I think you're shortchanging our guys. We have better skill position players than them. Their receivers, they got Sturdivant. He hasn't done anything. He looks like crap. Trey Wilson, remember we heard how great that guy was for so many years? He's done nothing since all that hype. Vernell Brown's going to be good. We love Vernell Brown on this podcast. We think he's a stud. But really, they don't, the running backs are not explosive. It's going to be about avoiding mistakes. Like, I don't think UF can beat Miami. I think Miami can beat Miami against UF. That makes sense.
So right now, Miami is 10th in the country in 10+ yards from scrimmage. But on the other side of it, they're like 43rd in 10+ yard plays allowed, and then they've allowed 10 20-yard plus plays. So something to watch there. We had a commenter earlier say that he's a bit concerned about the explosives that we've given up, and I think that's something to watch.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, Lagway can do that. He did it last year. So if you look at last year, they were bad all year to start. They finished strong with Lagway. He would go games where he get like 50% passing, but the ones he would hit would be giant ones, because he has the arm. So you got to watch that, man. That's going to be a big test for the defensive backs to stay disciplined, the linebackers, everybody else.
Bagging up, asking about 20-yard plays from Miami, 20+ yard plays. They have 16 of those, 30 tied for 32nd in the country. Room for a little bit of improvement there, but I'm seeing a lot of these teams. hold on, I'll tell you now in a second. A lot of these teams that are ahead of Miami, they'll have not played the same sort of schedule. Let me look for Florida. So Florida right now, in terms of 20-plus yard plays, it's funny, FIU and FAU are both top 15. Florida State, 66. Florida is 77th with 12 20-yard plays, and that's including that game against LIU.
Right. By the way, when you get the 30-yard plus 30-yard plays, Florida's 119th. So their explosiveness is theoretical at this point. Doesn't mean they can't do it against us. I mean, how many times have we seen teams that had, like, I remember Cal last year. Remember Cal, when we looked at Cal game on paper, we said, these guys are so bad up front and we have Ruben Bain back, we should just annihilate them with our pass rush. And that didn't happen. Between the scheme, between them just being charged up by College Gameday, between Mendoza being better and more athletic than I think people thought, although we were very complimentary of his athleticism and his ability. No one expected him to be juking out Ruben Bain, right? We thought we were going to just overwhelm them up front. They couldn't run their offense. That didn't happen. So it's week to week. It's college football. We got to see how it looks. But I think talent-wise, ability-wise, UF has been extremely overrated by the media, just like Clemson was overrated by the media. And I think if Miami plays Miami football, it's going to be the challenge this week, playing to their standard, they're going to humiliate them. But if they don't, they can lose.
Shout out to Kellen Wiley Sr. on here. Hit that like and subscribe. We're almost at 1,400 live right now, by the way.
Appreciate everybody. Yeah, like and subscribe to the show. Yeah, man. It's it'll be interesting to watch, man. Let's talk about just in general, just college football, Pete. What you saw this weekend. It was an awesome Saturday. I thought we were at the Lickin', which was a hell of a time watching all these games before Miami played. Got to watch a little more of them during our rain delay, more than I probably would have liked. The sad part is you couldn't see the night games because UM was playing at night. I ended up watching the next day, most of the big ones, Tennessee, Georgia, all that. What was your big takeaway, though, Pete, from this college football Saturday? Because it seemed like there was a lot of very, very interesting matchups and exciting games.
Manny Diaz still can't coach football.
Tell me about it.
I mean, it's just crazy that Miami ever gave that man the opportunity to be the head coach here. That's not to go back on something, but that's every time I watch him as the head coach, that's just what I see. I mean, look, can he coach some defense? He can. Obviously, it didn't always work great at Miami with some of the stuff that he did, but he's not head coach material. The team crumbles just like his personality does. It's obvious watching him on the sidelines with some of his mannerisms and the body language. You can't lose to the team that you just took the quarterback for $7 million for. That's just, you can't do it. It's a bad look. I'm sorry. That's my main takeaway, because I continue to see Canes. I saw a lot of Canes fans over the summer, kind of trying to compare Manny to Mario. And I think it's clear as day that those two should not be in the same conversation.
Oh, I mean, they shouldn't even be in the same universe. There's really no comparison other than, I guess, Manny is,
And look, is Duke hypothetically a good situation for him? Yeah, but I still don't think it's gonna work there. He's probably gonna have a nice leash there because there's not gonna be much pressure on him. But that guy's not gonna win more than 7 games a year consistently. I'm sorry. I know he did it last year, but I'm talking about as this thing continues to the more his fingerprints get on a program, the worse it's gonna get.
No, I agree with you, Pete. He was very bad recruiting in Miami. He was probably our worst recruiter since Coker, quite frankly. In fact, I believe that's a fact. I'm going to continue. Now that we got a little more time, I'm going to finish those recruiting reviews, which I've been doing class by class. But I already know kind of the answer because I did all the math before. And Manny's recruits were by far the worst of anybody since Coker.
And it's more than recruiting, D. He just you lose the locker room with him as the head coach. The culture's down the drain. He's not a leader of men. That's just what it is.
Yeah, I can't argue with you, man. And we got friends that work there, so it's like I hate killing them like this. But the big thing I didn't understand with Duke was why, if I looked at Duke last year, Pete, the last thing I thought was, man, what they really need is an elite quarterback. I guess everybody can use an elite quarterback, and I don't think this guy we're talking about is elite. But let me say it differently. I didn't look at Duke and say what they could use is a good quarterback that costs $4 million. And that's going to put them over the top. That's not what I thought when I watched Duke last year and their personnel. So you go get Darian Menson. I don't think he's been the problem, although he just lost to the team that he got pulled from. You look at 51 attempts. Obviously, that's on the high end, 313 yards. So he wasn't that explosive throwing the ball. But 3 touchdowns, 1 INT. I don't think he looks that bad. I mean, I think he looks pretty good. Now, is he elite that's going to carry a team? No, he's not. To me, he's actually a guy that his style of play fits better on a good team because he's going to connect the dots, play action, play within the scheme. He's not someone that is like a Cam Newton, right? So I didn't understand that's the player that you paid all that money for when you had all these other needs on the team. Obviously, defensively, Manny, we know he's a good defensive coordinator when he has good defensive players, but here, absolutely abysmal performance. And then you look at, Jake Retzlaff to Tulane, which seems like a perfect fit. It's funny. I mean, they'll see it worked out really, really well for Tulane with this whole thing that happened at BYU. And this is the perfect guy for them. Look at the stats, 245 yards passing, 111 yards running. 111 yards running in this game, 4 touchdowns. So if you're Tulane, you're ecstatic how the whole trade went down. Save money, got a better player, potentially a better player, and obviously you beat Duke in this game. But, man, if you're Duke, I don't see the vision or why you spent so much money on Mensa. It just doesn't make any sense given what they needed.
I don't know why that was my first thought from the college football weekend, but it really infuriates me every time I think about the chance that Blake James hired him to be the head coach in the University of Miami. I mean, set the program back. Thank goodness that Mario was there, because I don't know who else would have done it, man. So yeah, that was my first thought. The second thought was, hey, I had a pretty good call on the over in Georgia, Tennessee there, 44-41. When we were talking about that game, that was a nice back and forth, man. I think I feel pretty good about Joey Aguilar if I'm a Tennessee fan coming out of that one. They should have won that game, but
let me eat some crow because I was the first one to doubt Joey Aguilar, and I thought Tennessee did the right thing letting Nico go. So that part I agreed with, but I thought Aguilar would be a step back for them. They were one of those teams that they weren't ignoring the portal, but they were not the most portal heavy team that there was. When you really look at the numbers in terms of the team, pulling their team ranking right now, but they didn't kill it in the portal, right? But they've been recruiting well. They got the number 1 quarterback committed for next year, so we'll see how this whole thing progresses. But they really trusted their recruits. As I pull it up right now, so Tennessee last year in the portal, you got to scroll down to get them. They're one of those load more teams where you pull up the 247 database and you got to load more to find them. 68th in the portal last year, Tennessee, recruiting well, obviously well coached. So lost a lot of guys to the pros. I saw James Pierce getting sacks yesterday on Sunday Night Football. So they lost guys. And their best corner, McCoy, is banged up. He's still hurt from the offseason. Had another corner out for this game. So you look at Tennessee, you're like, all right, well, they didn't really replace that much in the portal. What are they going to look like? And I thought they should have won this game. If their kicker made a kick, if they had Carter Davis, you could have been talking about Tennessee winning this game. Just to shout out your boy. But I thought Aguilar throwing the deep ball was pretty good. Now, some of it was still making some incredible catches, number 17.
Mm-hmm.
But he did much more than maybe I expected. So I got to eat crow on that one because I thought this offense would take a step back from last year where they were already kind of disappointing. But they actually look much better without Nico. And clearly they made the right decision moving on. I'm sure there's a lot of frustration that they couldn't get this particular game done because this game was theirs to win. Georgia ends up winning again, continuing that dominance over over Tennessee. So we'll see where Tennessee goes from here, but I liked what I saw from them, and I like their receivers, man, look pretty explosive out there running down the field.
The next thing I'll say is Notre Dame, man. That's a good 0-2 team right there.
They're the only ranked 0-2 team since 1988. So
I'm sure. Listen, I'm sure if they if they didn't have that Notre Dame logo next to their helmet, it'd be the same situation.
Yeah, but they have. You're right. You're right. They lost some good teams. I'm gonna take it the other way. I was very impressed. Talking about things I was wrong about. I didn't think that Marcel Reed was as good as he was. Now, he was similar to Aguilar with a lot of feast or famine. Like, he was bombing it down the field. I think he was like 17 to 37, but when he did complete it, he was flying down the field. He had those very, very explosive. Talk about the portal. So Tennessee was a team that did not do much in the portal. Texas A&M in the portal was absolutely outstanding. And you look at what they did, particularly at the wide receiver position with Mario Craver from Mississippi State, Casey Concepcion from NC State. They've gone from a receiving group that did not have much explosiveness at all. They lost Noah Thomas to Georgia, lose some size, but didn't exactly lose explosiveness. But now you look at them, man, they are one of the most explosive downfield teams in the country because of those receivers. Their offensive line is very good. Reed can run and throw. They got Moz for short yardage. Defense, we'll see how they develop. They lost a lot of guys. Elko's a defensive coach. I think they'll get it going. But, man, Texas A&M, better than I thought offensively, and Marcel Reed better than I thought. Really good job in the portal.
And then Georgia Tech beating Clemson. I think that's maybe we should have started with that one since it has a lot of implications for Miami. But you've been pretty strongly saying for a while that Clemson still did not have the talent that the media said they did. I think we talked about it a bit on the pregame show the other day at the Licking while we were watching the game. And you said both Florida and Clemson got this hype undeservedly. But like I said the other day, at least Clemson was coming off another AC championship. Klubnik, even if he wasn't a first-round talent, like some people said, is an experienced quarterback who had some really good moments at the college level. So, and then Dabo has the history that he has. So I just got to give on that one, honestly, a lot of credit to Brent Key, Haynes King, Georgia Tech more than anything. They just, to me, outlasted them and outplayed them in that game.
Yeah, if you look at Clemson, the actual stats, it's interesting. Clemson actually outrushed Georgia Tech in this game, 174 rushing yards to 147, which that was the weakness of Clemson going into the year from last year. Could not stop the run, could not run the ball. I still don't think their running game is very good. I'm not impressed by their running game, but clearly they were effective in this game. Klubnik can run as well. Georgia Tech did their thing running the ball, so I don't think Clemson particularly stopped the run. But I think it was just a situation where a guy like Haynes King, he finds a way to win. We've seen it a million times. He is one of the toughest competitors we've seen in the ACC in a long, long time. And Klubnik is just, it's not clicking. Maybe it clicks later. It did last year. Remember last year he started slow, finished extremely strong, played a great game in the playoffs against Texas. But I don't really see it with him. I love the comparison. We'll talk about with Amon tomorrow when we bring Amon Richards onto our show. I love the comparison between Amon and Wesco. I think that was your comparison. They very similar. But to the Storm's point, they get no push on the offensive line. Remember, we talked about it before. Power. Even the best players on Clemson, TJ Parker, Peter Woods, I wouldn't consider them power players. They're more slipping, get in the backfield, doing those things.
So, any other thoughts from you? UCLA, Virginia Tech firing their coaches, Brent Pry, he's gone. That was as bad of a loss as you're going to get there.
Yeah, they had to make a move. Both those programs are going nowhere fast. If I'm UCLA, I'm getting the most innovative offensive guy and just kind of going in that lane, right? Just who's the Lance Leopold kind of guy that's just doing it differently at a lower level. And then Virginia Tech, they need a guy that can get that defense right because they're just not a physical team. They're an underachieving team where they used to be an overachieving team. So to me, I don't think it's about necessarily recruiting. That program's never been built on like top 10 classes. It's more about getting guys to buy into a system. Mike Elko, who was at Duke before Texas A&M, he was like they need a guy like that. I think to just get the defense right, get the culture right, get guys tougher, just change the mentality more so than like a guy that you're saying, okay, this guy's going to lock down Virginia and all the talent in that Tidewater area. Yeah, you want to do that too. But I think it's more important that you get this team playing with an identity, tackling, running to the football, doing those things, and not playing with just the weird energy that they've played with the last, it feels like 15 years. It's been a long funk for Virginia Tech where they've just not been consistent at all. They've had some good players. Last year, they had a lot of good players. Tootin was a really good player. Chaplin, the left tackle, is now at Auburn. He's one of the best in the country. They had 2 pass rushers inside and outside with Peebles and Antoine Powell-Ryland. They had good players. The lane, they had corners that could play. They had receivers that went pro. They just their center's now the center for LSU. They just really couldn't put it together, and it's sad to see. I mean, it's glad we don't have to worry about Virginia Tech like we used to always have to worry about them, although they almost beat us last year, even with the down team. But man, it's unrecognizable for those of us who remember what they used to look like.
Kevin asking any chance we go after Johnny Jones since the UCLA coach is fired. Brett Kaloje to me is still the one they want at O-line. Yeah,
and there's some good O-line film. I actually want to kind of watch some of it in a second here. But first, real quick, I want to talk about my friends at OrchidMan Florida. That is OrchidMan Florida, but it's not just orchids. These are landscape artisans. One-stop shop. You got a property, commercial, residential. You want it to look nice. This is South Florida. You got to have nice landscaping. The rain is there. You got to have good landscaping. Take advantage. These are South Florida's landscape artisans working from Palm Beach, Broward, all the way down to the Keys. You see the number 786-271-0332. OrchidMan Florida. They'll do the pretty work and they'll do the dirty work, sprinkler repair, manicure maintenance, tree trimming, I always stumble on this word, tree stump grinding. Got to work on that one. That was like a tongue twister every time. Tree removal, hurricane prep, you name it. They got it at OrchidManFlorida.com. So you had a comment here. Yeah, Baggin said that was Orkin like pest control. No, OrchidMan Florida. Got to work on my pronunciation. Gene Williams said, I live in SoCal and there's so much football talent. Chip Kelly was a terrible hire since he's not a good recruiter. They need a recruiter and a program builder. I thought that Deshaun Foster was supposed to be the recruiter.
I don't know, man. Reading a lot of stuff, it doesn't seem like that was ever really a job he should have been put in position for. But I don't know. I mean, I know a lot of people are saying that they're in a tough financial spot, which makes that a tough position. But Big Ten, there's enough recruiting around there. You play in the Rose Bowl. That's a cool recruiting pitch.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, UCLA's put players in the pros. They should be recruiting better than some of these teams that are bumbling and stumbling out there.
Sworn to the Storm says UCLA's administration never cared about football. Hey, all it takes is a couple good souls like Rudy Fernandez and Joe Echeverria to change that, to change the fortunes, right?
Yeah, man. How lucky were we that thing got resolved? And by the way, how lucky are we to live in Miami where when there's a storm like you encountered this week, you could just roll over to Duffy's Tavern where the elite meet to eat right there. That's a table where we were doing our podcast on Friday. Duffy's Tavern, the home of the Hurricanes, right there on the edge of Coral Gables. Place has been around since, I don't even remember, way before Miami was good at football. And throughout Miami's whole run, you had players going to Duffy's Tavern. You had fans going to Duffy's Tavern after the OB, after seeing a game at the Light. This is an institution. It is the home of the Miami Hurricanes. You go into Duffy's, it's like going into Cheers. Everybody knows your name. You see high school reunions, guys that went to high school 50 years ago with all their old buddies, fantasy football drafts, families, you name it. It's at Duffy's Tavern. Same great menu as always, but upgraded, spruced up, and they take credit card now. They finally take credit cards at Duffy's Tavern, not the chain sterile Duffy's. This is Duffy's Tavern. Make sure you put that tavern in there and you go to the top place for just that family bar vibe where you can drink, but you're also can bring your kids and eat great food and watch, of course, football all day, any day the football's on, or soccer, which I know you watch out there, baseball. They got it at Duffy's Tavern. Your home away from home and the home of the Miami Hurricanes.
You know what? Maybe I take back what I said. Phil makes a good point. Frank is the chancellor at UCLA. I don't know that they may not have much of a chance.
Yeah, exactly. And they're cooked. Maybe Manny will apply for well, Frank didn't hire Manny, right? Frank was after Manny. Yeah, look, to be fair, we hired Mario under Frank, so he stayed away enough. Pete, I wanted to watch some highlights here. I like to keep track of some of these. I like to keep track of some of these highlights. So just before we get out of here with the Hurricane Team Store, but I want to show us some highlights of our guy Jackson Canwell, man, because I keep thinking like, man, it's gonna be sad to lose Francis. He's such a great player, which of course he is. But man, it's going to be nice to replace him with a guy like Jackson Canwell. We talk about power. Man, this guy, look at the hands. Look how he just throws guys. I mean, he blocked 3 guys on that play. It's very technical. You could tell he's working on his details. I was talking to offensive line coach on Sunday, and he was telling me that you could tell this guy's very detail oriented, very patient. He's trying to do the right things, even though he's going against basically little kids compared to him. But just look at his hands. I've never seen a guy push guys as far as he does. Look, I mean, he just pushes them and they fly. It's not even like, his body is really just his hands, which of course there's a push right there. You don't want to jump with this guy anywhere in the vicinity. But with his ability to be potentially the best shot putter at the high school level ever in America, you see that on the field with the strength in his hands. It's he's ready to play some real competition. I think no one's going to replace a Francis Malinois, but this is the closest thing you're going to get to Francis Malinois from a power standpoint at the same age. Look at that.
Yeah. So one of the storms that CC's costing himself money with the false starts. I would like to see him clean some of that stuff up.
Yeah. No, he should. He's got to.
Since we're always openly tampering here, Ron the man, or Ron the Mon says Jordan Seaton doesn't seem too happy with his situation. Wouldn't mind him as a Francis replacement.
Wait, hold on. Go ahead, talk. Sorry.
Well, I was just going to say, I think that would be lovely, but go ahead.
No, I was going to ask because I'd always kind of circled it because you've said in the work, we've talked about it, that I could see the Hurricanes getting whoever the best offensive lineman in the portal is. Not because we have a huge need, just because you always got to add impact players, right? This is an impact offensive line program, but there's a guy out there that's like a plug-and-play NFL.
And we're getting that question here, so CP, we're answering the question here.
And you said this. I mean, you reported this on the work, a couple weeks ago, maybe before that. I've talked about it. Yeah, I've talked about it a bunch. I think that's just how they get down. There's an impact player out there to get someone just to fill a spot. But I think if you're talking about an NFL player in the portal, they're going to go after him hard. By the way, as we shout out the Miami Hurricane team story, these guys are going to be loving the offensive line. Let's talk about this real quick before we answer the question. Miami Hurricane team story. There you see it. Great signing event on Sunday. You see Mark Fletcher. You see Gerard Pringle signing for the fans. I see Johnny Lagoon in the bottom right there. His son's about to be born, and he's out there getting autographs at the Miami Hurricane team store. Shout out to Johnny Lagoon. And there's my girl Linda Fletcher there with Mark. Just a great event. Harry Rothwell, a legend, at the Miami Hurricane team store. Don't miss these signings. They are great. This was on Sunday. There'll be more to come. And then you can always shop online or in the store. Promo code INSIGHT20 get you 20% off at the Miami Hurricane team store, MiamiHTS.com. Finish it up on Seaton, though, before we get out of here. Almost 1,600 on. Like and subscribe. He would fit that category, right? As that elite offensive lineman. He went to the IMG. I think he's originally from DC, so he has no Colorado ties. That thing looks like it's off kilter. But the person who made that comment, did he make a tweet or something? Is there anything going on with Seaton that I don't know about?
No, there was just a video of him on the sideline kind of looking mad, with the game the other day. But remember, he was at Miami this offseason with Francis too. They're friends. He was training down here. They're doing some sort of, I don't know if it was an NIL or some sort of photo shoot or what it was in the Miami facility. So he's been around Miami, and I don't remember how involved Miami was there. In terms of like the early part of the process, but
we tried.
Being a top recruit, I'm sure that Mario and Mirabal had some contact with him.
Okay, so Sworn Storm, yeah, there's the video.
Yeah, there was a video of him. It was kind of, I don't know. I watched a video and it wasn't anything too crazy. It just looked like a guy who wasn't too happy his team had lost. But I mean, if the season doesn't trend well for Colorado, and I think that it's obvious a little of their juice is gone without Travis Hunter and Shador there, like, why not come get developed by the best?
I mean, listen, I'm the tamper-in-chief along with you. Gene was talking about the Cal quarterback. Yeah, that would definitely be one. I've had my eyes around on this guy for a while just because I thought Sanders was going to leave this past year potentially, which would free him up. This would be even better because we probably need him more next year than this year. So he'd be that kind of guy. And if he jumped in the portal and you're objective, you're not a Miami fan, and you're looking at it, I mean, aren't you putting two and two together. And like, if you're like just a general college football observer, and you see Seton go in the portal without knowing more, aren't you going to assume Miami? Meaning,
I would think Oregon too. Oregon would probably be in the mix there.
Yeah, with Isaiah World
Where's
leaving.
he from originally?
DC.
DC. Yeah, I could see it.
Oregon's one. I could see that for sure. I mean, like, all the top programs are gonna be after a guy like this. But
I would imagine like randomly, like a North Carolina will throw a lot of money at him.
Right.
But North Carolina will randomly land a couple kids in the big time players in the portal this year if Bill sticks around.
They will, but I mean,
this
is a guy that's going to be top of the scale, right? And he's going to be like a Caleb Banks kind of guy. So, Caleb Banks went to Ohio State and it was pretty clean. We'll see where we're at the end of the season. But
Caleb Banks, no.
Caleb Downs. I'm sorry. Yeah, Caleb Banks, no, is not that. So,
Ralph,
anyways,
last thing here before we wrap up. Ralph says what we need more than anything are big defensive tackles. I don't know that we're going to be recruiting those types, man. Not the way that they want to play. I just think you need more depth at D-line. I think you really do. The rotations at D-line, as someone pointed out earlier, weren't very high, just because you're kind of short on bodies there right now, D. It was good to see Blunt playing, good to see him get in the mix, but it's going to be something to watch.
Yeah, I think everybody's in that situation. We're in it. You know what I was thinking, and this is not based on any information. I got to drop a bank here coming up this week. This is not based on any information, but, Ahmad Moten is a redshirt junior. Are we like too quick to assume he's going to leave?
I haven't assumed he was going to leave at all.
If he comes back, you got him and Moten.
I didn't realize he was a redshirt junior.
Yeah, I didn't realize that either. If he comes back, you got him and Scott.
Yeah, 4-year junior.
Yeah, so him and Scott would be.
If he keeps it up, he'll get drafted this year, but it would be a later round pick.
So he might be like, hey, I come back, I get a good NIL deal, and I still go pro later. That's not impossible, and that you would have two starting caliber defensive tackles. Again, injuries, who knows what's going to happen. We still got to add more, but that I think would make things a little easier.
Yeah.
So. Anyways, man, well, listen, appreciate everybody joining us on the show. 1600 live on the show. Remember to like and subscribe. Pete, anything to say here before we get out of here?
No, just stay tuned this week, man. We have Amon tomorrow, right?
Yep.
Amon tomorrow. We have Mike Ryan Wednesday, Thursday Steve Kim, and then Friday we'll be at Duffy's. I'm going to do a show at Lomello's also this week. A lot of people requesting the gator, man. I'm trying to get him to get the gator bites on the menu over there at Lomello's this week because a lot of people want it for the tailgates, man. So I will keep you guys in the loop on that.
Let's go. Appreciate everybody joining us. 1600 plus, man. Like and subscribe. Go Canes.
Go Canes.